I really thought Sam Bankman-Fried was a good guy, a smart businessman, just trying to help craft good regulation for crypto. Boy, was I wrong. It's been about 2 weeks now from the whole FTX Sam Bankman-Fried deal came out, and I thought I would just summarize my thoughts about the whole situation and maybe the lessons that we may have learned. This is a Crypto for the Rest of Us Crypto Update. If you've been following the crypto news, you undoubtedly have been flooded with news of FTX, one of the world's largest crypto exchanges, going under, and its very talkative CEO, Sam Bankman-Fried, being vilified for his less than proper handling of customer funds. Even though this has been a painful time for crypto, there are lessons that we can take away from this situation. So let's talk about it. On November 4th, my co-host Brianna and I had decided to vote an entire episode of Crypto Talk with Brianna and Scott to unpack SBF's crypto regulation blueprint. Now, as we found out, SBF had been meeting with regulators and even speaking on Capitol Hill to legislators, and he decided to put out on his blog a blueprint of possible regulations that he thought would help crypto. So we started to break down each section of the blueprint with the goal of understanding what he was proposing for crypto regulation and discuss our thoughts about his ideas surrounding crypto regulation. Now, the gist of the blueprint was that although he maintained that he wasn't for regulating decentralized side of crypto, he thought that the front end to DeFi in particular should be regulated in some way. Now, I took that to mean that the entity that created the software or the user interface that end users would connect to these DeFi protocols before the transactions were sent out onto the blockchain, that would be okay to be regulated. Most of the crypto community didn't agree with that, and they didn't agree with anything being regulated on the DeFi side. Now, the pushback was that FTX was trying to put his business, FTX, in a prosperous way and have DeFi be regulated and making sure that FTX came out ahead of the game. Now, at first, I didn't see a problem with this, but after further thought and looking into this, and of course after FTX imploded, I really can see that this was an invitation to slap traditional finance right onto top of DeFi and regulate it in the same way. And that's definitely not what we want to happen. Now, on our November 4th show, we barely made it through a couple of his recommendations before we ran out of time. So we were thinking we'd just pick this up where we left off. Then on Saturday, November 5th, the news had hit that Binance was going to liquidate all of their FTT tokens after some revealing news had come out from a November 2nd CoinDesk article reviewing Alameda Research's balance sheet. Now, of course, we know that Alameda and FTX owned by Sam Bankman-Fried. Now, in my opinion, this is where the whole cascade started, or at least where the current cascade started. As we'll see, I think it actually started with the Terra Luna crash, basically. So basically, we didn't talk about the blueprint again because there was just so much new news coming out that we just had to cover it. And we thought, okay, we'll be able to wrap this up on that next show. Now, that was November 11th, but we couldn't because news just kept coming out. Now, I don't want to go into all the details of that catastrophic event, but I'm going to try to sum up some of my thoughts and views on what happened and maybe what we can learn from the situation and maybe what we can look forward to. So first off, I want to say that I think crypto is going to be in better shape than it ever was before. And I think that all new industries have a shakeout period just like this. You know, we saw this in the internet boom of the 2000s, and we're seeing it now in crypto. The thing is that the crypto space is growing much faster than the internet space did, and so it feels like we're really on a roller coaster. I see the crypto space as the next evolution of the computer and internet space. Web 3, as most of us are calling it, is the future, and it's being built on the blockchain, and its base is digital ownership, something that we're craving after the FANG companies took away our personal data and they gave it away, and we granted them this freely and we just gave it to them. But I don't think we fully understood what was going on until it was too late. But I digress. So why did this happen? Why did this FTX collapse happen, and why was it so painful? Why did we let such a young and inexperienced kid grow this mini empire? And how did we get duped into thinking that he was the savior of crypto? Well, I think we got greedy and a little lazy. When Satoshi created this wonderful new digital currency of Bitcoin and he ushered in the age of blockchain, a lot of us were enchanted by the vision of a free monetary system where we could truly own our property without the fear of the government or a large organization taking it away from us. We marveled at how brilliantly simple, in some ways, that Bitcoin was, or is, and we marveled at how it just worked, and flawlessly. And as an open source tech, how the world embraced it and took off and created all the new amazing tools like DeFi and smart contracts and tokenization, NFTs, and of course the metaverse, and so on. But eventually, centralized entities came into the picture, and it made sense because, well, people needed to move their fiat or their money into crypto, and this made it much easier than just mining. And so central exchanges were born. And for a lot of us that came into crypto, centralized exchanges just seemed normal. And even though we still struggled with the KYC a bit, we're kind of used to it because traditional finance is kind of the same way. So we learned how to move our crypto into hot and cold wallets, and we understood the phrase, not your keys, not your crypto. But then these exchanges started offering more services than just onboarding our fiat. And we thought, okay, that sounds reasonable. Well, why not let's just keep our crypto on these exchanges. We'll just take advantage of earning some interest, and we'll just park our crypto there. And we don't have to go through all this sticky business and the confusing tasks of creating a self-custody wallet and moving our crypto over to it. And really, what if we lost our keys, or we mistyped an address, or we chose the wrong address to move our crypto? So yes, it just seemed easier to leave our crypto on exchanges. And we thought, we're pretty damn smart because we'd be earning this amazing 4%, and we wouldn't earn that if we had put our crypto in a cold or hot wallet. And heck, we can use leverage, and they're going to give us all sorts of cool services that we can take advantage of. And this was just for retail investors. So what about the big guys who could move in millions of dollars and get some very favorable yields and massive leverage or arbitrage positions? Oh, and what about these tokens that were created out of thin air? How cool was it that we could earn amazing tokens for free just by staking them and even earn another 1 or 2%? Look how smart we are. Now, okay, that's a little sarcastic, and I get it, but I'm really speaking about myself here. The more I learned about crypto, it just seems smarter to leave my crypto on these exchanges and take advantage of some of the services that they were offering. And they sounded too good to be true. Well, you can see how that worked out for us. And we thought, these companies are big. The FTX, Coinbase, Binance, they'll never go under. How could they go under? They're too important. And then it happened. Okay, so I know I'm being more facetious and sarcastic here, but you can see how we got here, how we were duped by a bunch of kids into thinking that we needed them to save crypto from the adults who were getting this centralized, decentralized thing all mixed up. And that these CeFi companies like BlockFi, Celsius, and Three Arrows Capital, that these are the true enemies, and that these are centralized companies trying to play in the decentralized world. And we pointed our fingers at them and we said, they're the culprits. They aren't truly decentralized, and they must go. And why didn't we understand that these centralized exchanges like FTX were just like them? Now, of course, FTX offered to buy out those troubled centralizing entities that were in trouble, but they were one and the same. They were brothers and sisters. Why not just join together and take advantage of everybody? There I go again, being sarcastic, but it's hard not to be a little jaded after all of this. Bottom line is that a lot of traditional financial people started businesses to take advantage of the unregulated space in crypto. Now, these centralized businesses, these centralized entities, they catered to really large institutions, and they promised high returns. So when Bitcoin was up, they made millions. But when Bitcoin and other cryptos started falling in prices, these centralized financial institutions, they didn't want to admit that they were underwater. And because they are centralized businesses, they just went out and found anyone that would lend them some more money. so they could recoup their losses, and they would invest in even more risky crypto assets. And eventually, it all turned into just a big Ponzi scheme where nobody had enough liquid assets to cover their margin loans. And so it was all one big domino that was just ready to crumble the whole thing. And that, of course, was FTX. But remember that this was happening before FTX actually fell. These large institutions like Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, BlockFi, Genesis, they were all hemorrhaging money after the Luna UST failure. And it just took some time for them all to come crumbling down. Now, they all use customer funds to cover their loans, which is downright fraud and never would have been allowed in traditional finance. But since the SEC had their heads up their butts, they let these predator institutions come in and take advantage of crypto and take advantage of everyone. So I just want to make it clear as possible. These predator institutions are not crypto. They never were. And because most media companies don't understand crypto, they're lumping all of these guys in with all of crypto. And that's a crime. So I'm going to shout it out once again. Crypto and decentralized finance, they're doing great. DeFi is doing great. Bitcoin and Ethereum are doing just fine. They are humming along just fine. So come in the water, it's just fine. So where do we go from here? Well, I think clearly it shows that there are some areas of crypto that absolutely need to be regulated. Now, I'm not exactly sure all the delineations of which parts should be regulated, but I think that we should start with these predatory centralized institutions and exchanges. At least put in some way to demand transparency so we know what these guys are doing. We need to know exactly what we can and can't do in the crypto world. It's just so wimpy of a move of the SEC and Gary Gensler to just go around shooting from the hip anybody that they can find in their crosshairs and sue them. Without newly crafted, just for crypto laws and regulations, how can anyone that is building in the crypto space be sued when there are no rules and it's not clear? I know Gary that keeps on saying that the crypto projects should just come in and disclose what they're doing and we'll give you our blessing, or not. But that's not what traditional finance has to do. There are clear rules to follow, and if they aren't followed, of course you're going to sue them, as you should. But if you're just going to make the argument that crypto projects should abide by the same rules that traditional finance does, then this just shows us that you really don't get it, Gary. And I don't care how many blockchain courses that you've taught. You don't get it, period. So please, let's have a little finesse here and craft some intelligent, crypto-specific laws and regulations. And yes, feel free to start with those predatory centralized entities. Notice I keep saying crypto projects and builders shouldn't be held to the same regulations as traditional finance. And that's because I want to make it extremely clear who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. And by now, I hope you understand that the bad guys are these centralized entities that are going bankrupt right now, losing customer funds. These are the bad guys. That's what you should be regulating on. How to protect customers from being caught up with these predator institutions trying to take advantage of these lack of regulations. Because you didn't get serious enough to create some guidelines and regulations. Now we're in this situation. You invited these predators to set up shop in crypto and look like sheep, but they really were wolves. Really, shame on you, Gary, and the SEC. I think we can lay this whole FTX predator CeFi institutional collapse on you. And also, shame on you for making the hardworking tech inventors and crypto projects feel like criminals. For randomly picking out the low-hanging fruit to sue and try to make an example of instead of going after the big money predator CeFi institutions. Okay, so let's pivot and let's talk about the future. Let's talk about what we might have learned and let's talk about the future. So let's talk about Web3 for a minute. Now, I believe that we are quite a ways away from Neil Stephenson's snow crash version of the metaverse. But Web3 in various forms is being built as we speak. And there are test sites being rolled out here and there. And there are plenty of places where you can hang your 3D avatar hat and call home, from the Sandbox to Spatial to Rove and my current favorite, BitCountry, where anyone without any coding can create their own metaverse. That's right, I said metaverse, not just an estate on a metaverse. I've purchased some digital land in BitCountry, and I'm currently building a metaverse where I'll be selling and maybe gifting away some plots of land to people who want to come with me and build a new digital future. I'm currently planning on using this metaverse as a branding arm of my business, and I hope to bring as many people as I can who are interested in having their own little piece of digital land to build on and create on. So hit me up on my socials if you're interested in learning more ways about how you can build in the metaverse. Now, there are also some great blockchain games coming out. They're coming out, and these are really good games that are really fun to play, where you can own some of the rights to the assets in the games, and you can actually learn and create your own NFTs and participate in DeFi while playing these games. Now, what about DAOs, digital autonomous organizations? DAOs bring a lot of new innovation to the space around pure democracy, where everyone has an equal vote. Now, I think we are just getting started in DAOs and the utility that they will bring. In the future, there may be DAOs larger than most corporations or even countries, and they'll flex their democratic muscle and use all the power of decentralization to efficiently run these organizations. These are parts of what Web3 will be, and it's time to dive in and learn as much as you can about how these actually work before they pass you by. During this bear market, it's truly a time to build and learn, and not just for coders. Anyone can build in Web3 and the metaverse. Despite all the crashes and burns that this year has in crypto, it's truly a great time to be in crypto. If you're just an investor, then it's a great time to buy. This is, of course, if you believe that this crypto thing is for real. But again, you wouldn't have listened this far if you didn't. Now, crypto is on sale, baby. That's my motto. If you're curious, like me, then you're also going to want to dive in, get your hands dirty in all areas of crypto, and it will help you prosper when the market turns and we're in a bull market, but it's just a lot of fun along the way. Crypto is a really fun place to be. The decentralized principles of crypto really lend themselves to the freedom and being in control of your finances and your data and your life. Embrace living the decentralized life, and it will pay off dividends in more ways than just money. So that's it for now from Crypto Cowboy Montana. I'm signing off. We'll see you next time.